The transport ship shook as it dropped out of hyperspace. Hana pressed her face to the small window and saw Velos Prime for the first time. The planet looked like a giant blue marble with silver rings around it. 3 moons hung in the dark space, nearby, each one bigger than Earth's moon. "First time seeing an alien world?" asked Deho from the seat next to her. He was the only other human on the ship. His voice was excited, but Hana could hear the nervousness underneath. "Yes," Hana said, quietly. She did not take her eyes off the planet. "It's beautiful." Deho laughed. "Wait until you see the academy. My older brother came here 5 years ago. He said it's like nothing on Earth." Hana nodded, but did not say anything else. She watched the planet grow larger as their ship moved closer. Soon she could see the continents. They were purple and green, instead of brown and green like Earth. The oceans were a bright blue that almost hurt to look at. The other passengers on the ship were all young beings from different worlds. Hana had counted them earlier. There were 47 students total. Only 2 were human. The rest came from 12 different species across the galaxy. A tall being with blue skin and 4 arms sat across from them. Its name was Kira, and it came from a world called Zephyr. Kira had tried to talk to Hana earlier, but Hana had only given short answers. She preferred to listen and watch. "Are you scared?" Kira asked now. Its voice sounded like singing. "No," Hana said. "Are you?" "A little," Kira admitted. "My people are not known for being warriors. We are telepaths. We read minds and solve problems with our thoughts. But the academy teaches combat, physical fighting." Deho leaned forward. "That's why we're all here, right? To learn from each other. Humans are good at adapting. We can learn anything." A harsh laugh came from behind them. Hana turned to see Taemin, a student from Altair. His people looked almost human, but their skin was silver and their eyes were completely black. They were known across the galaxy for being proud and thinking they were better than other species. "Humans," Taemin said with a sneer, "from a death world. Everyone talks about how tough Deathworlders are supposed to be. But look at you. You look so soft." Deho's face turned red. "We're tougher than we look." "Are you?" Taemin stood up. He was tall and moved like a dancer. "Your world is dangerous, yes, but that just means you run and hide from predators. Real warriors face their enemies." Hana turned back to the window. She could hear Deho getting more upset, but she did not join the argument. On Earth, she had learned that sometimes the best response was no response at all. The ship landed with a soft bump. Through the speakers, a voice spoke in the common galactic language. "Welcome to Velos Prime. All students, please gather your belongings and prepare for departure." The academy was even more impressive than Deho had described. It looked like a giant crystal that grew out of the ground. The building was clear in some places and colored in others. Light moved through it in patterns that Hana had never seen before. "Amazing," Deho whispered. Hana agreed, but she did not say it out loud. She was too busy watching everything else. The gravity on Velos Prime was lighter than Earth's. She felt like she could jump twice as high. The air smelled different, too. Cleaner, with a hint of something like cinnamon. Other students were arriving from different ships. Hana saw beings she had only read about in books. There were the rock-like Corvani, the bird-like Ethrans, and the scaled Drakmori. Each group stayed together talking in their own languages. "All new students follow me," called a voice. The speaker was clearly the instructor. It had 4 arms like Kira, but its skin was hard and clear like crystal. Plates of armor covered its shoulders and chest. "I am Instructor Veltar. I will show you to your dormitories." The group followed Veltar into the academy. Inside, the halls were wide and tall. Everything seemed designed for beings of different sizes. Some doorways were huge, others were small. Some halls had low ceilings, others stretched up so high, Hana could not see the top. "The academy has been training warriors for 300 years, Veltar explained as they walked. "Students come from every member species of the Galactic Union. You will learn combat techniques, strategy, survival, skills, and leadership." They passed other students in the halls. Most were older and wore uniforms that showed their year and rank. Some stopped to stare at the new arrivals. Hana noticed that many looked at her and Dae-ho with curiosity. A few whispered to each other. "Humans," she heard one say, "from the Deathworld Terra." "They don't look dangerous," said another. Hana kept walking and listening. On Earth, her grandmother had taught her that you learned more with your ears than with your mouth. "A quiet person sees everything," her grandmother used to say. "A loud person sees only what they want to see." The dormitory was a large room, with beds built into the walls. Each bed had a small area around it for personal belongings. The beds were different sizes for different species. Hana's was human-sized, simple, but comfortable. "Rest today," Veltar said. "Tomorrow your classes begin. First class is combat theory at Oro 800 hours. Do not be late." As the instructor left, the students began to settle in. Some talked loudly about their home worlds. Others unpacked their belongings. Hana sat on her bed and continued to watch and listen. Bo-Ram, a small student from the Nexari species, had the bed next to hers. The Nexari looked almost human, but their skin was pale green and they had large, dark eyes. Bo-Ram seemed nervous and did not talk to anyone. "Are you okay?" Hana asked quietly. Bo-Ram jumped. "Oh, yes, I'm fine. This is all so new." "What is your homeworld like?" "Nexus is a peaceful place," Bo-Ram said. "We are researchers and scientists. My people have not fought a war in 2,000 years. I'm not sure why I'm here." "Maybe to learn," Hana said. "Sometimes, learning about something doesn't mean you have to use it." Bo-Ram smiled. "That's a wise way to think about it. What about you? Earth is famous for being dangerous. You must be a skilled fighter." Hana was quiet for a moment. "Not really. I'm more of a watcher." "A watcher?" "I pay attention. I see things. Sometimes that's more useful than fighting." Bo-Ram looked confused but nodded politely. Across the room, Taemin was telling a group of students about his world's military traditions. His voice was loud and confident. "Altarians have been warriors for 10,000 years, he said. "We conquered 12 star systems before joining the Union. Combat is in our blood." Several students gathered around him, impressed. Hana noticed that none of them asked Dae-ho about Earth's military history. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only been part of the Union for 50 years. Most species still thought of them as primitive newcomers. That night, as the lights dimmed and students settled into their beds, Hana lay awake listening. She could hear different types of breathing, different sleep sounds. Some students snored. Others made soft chirping noises. A few were completely silent. She thought about her grandmother's words. "Every place has its own rhythm," the old woman had said. "Learn the rhythm, and you'll know how to survive there." Hana closed her eyes and listened to the rhythm of the academy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, she was content to listen and learn. In the darkness, she smiled, slightly. The other students thought they knew what a Deathworlder should look like. They expected someone fierce and aggressive. They had no idea that the most dangerous predators on Earth were often the ones you never saw coming. The Academy's rhythm continued around her as Hana finally drifted off to sleep, already planning how she would watch and learn in her first combat theory class tomorrow. The first combat theory class was held in a large, circular room with seats that rose up like stairs around a central area. Hana arrived early and chose a seat in the back row. She wanted to see everything and everyone. Other students filed in, slowly. Most sat with others from their own species. Dae-ho waved at her from across the room where he sat with a group of mixed species. Hana nodded back but stayed where she was. Instructor Veltar entered through a door in the center of the room. Behind the instructor came another being that Hana had not seen before. This one was huge, almost 3 meters tall. Its body was covered in thick scales that looked like metal armor. Its eyes were yellow and sharp. "This is Commander Rixal," Veltar announced. "He commands this academy and oversees all combat training." Commander Rixal looked around the room slowly. When his eyes reached Hana, they stopped for a moment longer than on other students. His expression did not change, but Hana felt like he was measuring her somehow. "Young warriors," the commander said. His voice was deep and echoed in the room. You come from many worlds. You bring many different ways of fighting. But here, you will learn the universal combat principles that unite all warriors across the galaxy." He gestured to Veltar, who activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images of different species fighting appeared in the air. "Combat has 3 basic elements," Commander Rixall continued: strength, speed, and strategy. Every warrior must master all 3. Some species are naturally stronger. Others are naturally faster. But strategy can be learned by anyone. A student raised one of his 4 arms. It was Junho, a Drakmori like the commander but younger and smaller. His scales were bright blue instead of dark green. "Yes, Cadet Junho," the commander said. "Sir, what about species that have other advantages, like telepathy or natural armor?" "Good question. Natural abilities are tools, just like strength and speed, but they mean nothing without proper training and discipline." The commander's eyes moved to different students as he spoke. "A weak fighter with good strategy can defeat a strong fighter with poor strategy." Taemin spoke up without raising his hand. "But surely some species are just better at combat than others? My people, the Altarians, have been warriors for thousands of years. We must have advantages over—" He looked directly at Hana. "Species that are new to galactic civilization." Several students turned to look at Hana. She felt their eyes on her but kept her own eyes on the holographic display. The images showed warriors from different worlds using various fighting techniques. "An interesting point," Commander Rixall said. His tone was neutral. "Tell me, Cadet Taemin, what do you know about Deathworlds?" Taemin straightened up proudly. "Deathworlds are planets with dangerous environments. The species that evolve there have to be tough to survive. But toughness is not the same as fighting skill." "True," the commander agreed. "Cadet Hana, you are from the Deathworld Terra. What is your opinion?" All eyes turned to Hana. She had hoped to avoid attention, but now she had no choice. She stood up slowly, as was proper when addressing a superior officer. "I think," she said quietly, "that survival and combat are different things. On my world, the best survivors are often the ones who avoid fights." Some students laughed. Taemin's laugh was the loudest. "Avoiding fights?" he said. "How is that warrior training?" Hana looked at him calmly. "Sometimes the best way to win is not to fight at all." "That sounds like cowardice," Junho said. His voice was not mean, but it was doubtful. "Perhaps," Hana said. She sat back down. Commander Rixall watched this exchange with interest. "We will test all of these theories in practical exercises," he said. "Theory is useful, but action reveals truth." The class continued with lessons about different fighting styles and weapons. Hana listened carefully and took notes. She noticed that most of the techniques focused on direct confrontation. Attack and defense. Move fast, hit hard, protect yourself. After class, students filed out slowly. Many were talking excitedly about the practical exercises that would start next week. Hana waited until most had left before standing up. "Hana!" Boram hurried over to her. "That was brave, speaking up like that." "Was it brave?" Hana asked. "I just answered honestly." Still, with everyone staring, Boram shivered. "I could never do that. My people hate being the center of attention." They walked out of the classroom together. In the hallway, they passed a group of students talking loudly. Taemin was in the center gesturing as he spoke. "Did you see that?" He was saying. "The human girl thinks avoiding fights makes you a warrior. On Altair, we have a word for that. Coward." "Maybe she's just scared," suggested another student. "Of course she's scared," Taemin said. "Humans may come from a death world, but that doesn't make them fighters. It just means they're good at running away from things that want to eat them." The May group laughed. Hana and Boram walked past without stopping. Hana's expression did not change, but Boram looked upset. "Aren't you angry?" Boram whispered when they were out of hearing range. "No," Hana said. "Why should I be angry?" "He's insulting you and all humans." Hana thought about this. "He's saying what he believes. That doesn't make it true." "But don't you want to prove him wrong?" "Maybe I will," Hana said quietly. but not by getting angry. Over the next few days, more classes began. They had Galactic, history, xenobiology, survival skills, and strategy planning. In each class, Hana sat quietly and listened. She rarely spoke unless asked a direct question. In survival skills, they learned about different planetary environments. When they studied desert worlds, Taemin bragged about how Altarians could survive for weeks without water. When they studied ice worlds, Kira explained how Zephyrians used telepathy to share body heat. When they studied Earth, Instructor Veltar asked Hana to share information about her world's dangers. Earth has many predators, Hana said, standing to address the class. Large ones like bears and big cats, small ones like venomous snakes and insects. But the most dangerous thing about Earth is not any single creature. What is it then? Asked a student. The environment changes quickly. Weather can kill you. Earthquakes, floods, fires, and all the dangerous creatures are adapted to hunt thinking beings. How do humans survive? Junho asked. He seemed genuinely curious. We adapt. We use tools. We work together. And we learn to be very, very careful. Careful, Taemin said with a snort. There's that word again. Hana looked at him. On Earth, careless people die young. After that class, Daeho caught up with Hana in the hallway. You're making some people nervous, he said with a grin. I heard Taemin asking other students if they think you're hiding something. Am I hiding something? Hana asked. I don't know. Are you? I mean, back on Earth, you lived in the mountains with your grandmother. Nobody knows much about what you did there. Hana smiled slightly. It was the first time most people had seen her smile since arriving at the academy. I learned things, she said. What kind of things? Useful things. Daeho waited for more explanation, but Hana did not give one. She never gave more information than was asked for. The practical combat exercises were scheduled to begin the following week. Students were assigned to different groups based on their species' natural abilities. The groups would compete against each other in various challenges. When the assignments were posted, Hana found her name in a mixed group with Boram, Kira, and 2 other students from non-warrior species. Daeho was placed with a group of medium-sized humanoid species. Taemin was placed with the elite warrior group. This included Junho and several other students from species known for their fighting abilities. They're separating the warriors from the non-warriors, observed Su Jin, a diplomatic student from Andromeda. It makes sense for training purposes. Does it? Hana asked quietly. Of course. You can't expect a researcher like Boram to compete with a Drakmori warrior like Junho. It wouldn't be fair. Hana nodded, but said nothing. That night, she lay in her bed listening to the academy's rhythm. Tomorrow, the real testing would begin. She thought about her grandmother's teachings. Every creature has a weakness, the old woman had said. Even the strongest predator. Even the smartest hunter. Your job is not to be stronger or faster. Your job is to find the weakness. Around her, other students slept. Some were excited about tomorrow's challenges. Others were nervous. A few were probably scared. Hana was none of these things. She was ready. But ready for what? The other students did not yet understand. The combat training facility was enormous. It had different sections for different types of exercises. One area had obstacle courses. Another had weapon training ranges. In the center was a large arena with seats around it for watching matches. Hana's group stood together near the entrance. Boram looked nervous. Kira was trying to use telepathy to calm everyone down, but it was not working very well on non-telepathic species. Remember, Instructor Veltar called to all the students, these exercises are about learning, not winning. You will work with your teams for the first week. Then we will have individual challenges. The first exercise was an obstacle course. Each team had to get all members through a series of barriers, walls, and moving platforms. The goal was to finish as fast as possible without anyone getting hurt. Taemin's elite warrior group went first. They moved through the course like it was easy. Junho climbed walls that were 3 times his height. A bird-like Ethran student flew over barriers that others had to climb around. They finished in 12 minutes. Excellent work, Commander, Rixal announced. Next team. Several more teams went. Most finished in 15 to 20 minutes. Some had members who fell or got stuck and needed help. Team 7, Veltar called. That was Hana's team. They walked to the starting line. Boram was shaking slightly. Kira placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We can do this," Kira said. "We just need to work together." "How?" asked Minho, a small Centauri student with 6 arms. "Look at those walls. I can't climb like a Drakmori." "Maybe we don't need to climb like them," Hana said quietly. The other team members looked at her. Since arriving at the academy, Hana had barely spoken during group activities. She mostly watched and listened. "What do you mean?" Boram asked. "I mean, we should look at the course differently. We're not trying to be warriors. We're trying to solve a problem." The starting signal sounded. Other teams had run straight at the obstacles and used strength or speed to get through them. Hana's team walked. "Are we going slow on purpose?" Minho asked. "We're being careful," Hana said. "Look at the first wall." The wall was 4 meters high with handholds for climbing. Strong students could climb it quickly. But Hana pointed to something else. "See that gap at the bottom? It's too small for most students to crawl through, but not too small for all of us." Boram looked where Hana pointed. There was indeed a small gap, maybe half a meter high. "I could fit through that," Boram said. "But what about the rest of you?" "You go through first," Hana explained. "On the other side, there's a rope hanging down. You can lower it to us." It worked. Boram crawled through the gap and lowered the rope. The others climbed up easily. At the second obstacle, Hana found another solution. Instead of jumping across a wide pit like other teams had done, she noticed stepping stones that were almost hidden in the shadows. "The course isn't just about being strong or fast," she explained as they moved carefully across the stones. "It's about finding the right path." By the time they reached the final obstacle, Hana's team was moving smoothly together. The last challenge was a maze with moving walls. Other teams had tried to rush through before the walls could block them. Most got trapped and had to wait for the walls to reset. "We wait," Hana said. "Wait for what?" Kira asked. "For the pattern. The walls move in a pattern. If we understand the pattern, we can walk through without rushing." Hana stood at the entrance to the maze for 2 full minutes, just watching. The walls moved left, then right, then left again. But there was more to it than that. "Every third cycle, there's a 5-second pause," she said finally. "That's our window." They waited for the pause and walked through the maze calmly. When they crossed the finish line, their time was 18 minutes and 37 seconds. Not the fastest, but solid for a team of non-warriors. "Interesting approach," Commander Rixall said as they walked off the course. He was looking directly at Hana. "Tell me, Cadet Hana, did you plan that strategy before starting?" "No, sir," Hana said. "I watched the course and found the solutions." "You watched? During the exercise?" "Yes, sir. While we moved, I watched." The commander's yellow eyes studied her for a long moment. "I see. After the exercise, students had free time to rest and eat." In the dining hall, Hana's team sat together. They were feeling good about their performance. "That was amazing," Boram said excitedly. "I never would have seen those hidden paths." "How did you know to look for them?" Minho asked. Hana thought about how to explain. "On Earth, my grandmother taught me to hunt, but not with weapons. We hunted by watching animals until we understood their patterns. Once you understand the pattern, you can predict what will happen next." "But this was an obstacle course, not a hunt," Kira said. "Same principle. Everything has patterns, even artificial. Things like buildings and machines." Across the dining hall, Taemin was talking loudly to a group of students. "Did you see that team of weaklings?" he was saying. "They moved so slowly I thought they were broken. 18 minutes. My team could have done it twice in that time." "But they didn't fail any sections," pointed out Sujin. "Some faster teams had to restart parts of the course. So what? Speed is what matters in real combat. You can't ask your enemy to wait while you figure out their pattern." Junho, who was sitting near Taemin, looked thoughtful. "I don't know," he said. "There was something different about how they moved, like they were seeing things we missed." "They were being careful," Taemin said with disgust. "Careful and slow. That's not how warriors act." "Maybe not," Junho agreed. But it worked. The conversation continued, but Hana stopped listening. She had noticed something else. At the instructor's table, Commander Rixal and Instructor Veltar were having a quiet discussion. Both of them looked in her direction several times. "They're talking about you, Kira," said softly. As a telepath, Kira could sometimes pick up surface thoughts from non-telepathic beings. What are they thinking? Hana asked. I can't read them clearly. Their minds are too disciplined, but I sense curiosity and something else. Wariness, maybe? Wariness. Like they're not sure what to expect from you. That night, Hana lay in bed thinking about the day. The obstacle course had been easy once she understood what it really was. Not a test of strength or speed, but a test of observation and problem-solving. But she had noticed something troubling. When other students looked at her now, their expressions were different. Before they had ignored her or thought she was weak. Now they looked confused, uncertain. Change made people nervous, and nervous people sometimes did stupid things. The next few days brought more exercises. Team navigation through simulated alien environments. Group problem-solving under time pressure. Emergency response scenarios. In each exercise, Hana's approach was the same. Watch first, understand the real problem, find the efficient solution. Her team started finishing faster and making fewer mistakes. Other students began to notice. Some asked questions about her methods. Others whispered among themselves when they thought she could not hear. How does she see things we miss? One student asked another. Maybe it's a human thing. Deathworld adaptation. But the other human doesn't do it. Daeho fights like everyone else. The whispers followed her everywhere. In classes, in the dining hall, even in the dormitory at night. Hana tried to ignore them, but it was becoming harder. Then came the announcement that changed everything. Next week, Commander Rixal told the assembled students, we will begin individual combat assessments. Each student will face challenges, designed to test their personal fighting abilities. A murmur of excitement went through the crowd. This was what many students had been waiting for, a chance to prove themselves in direct combat. However, the commander continued, participation in combat assessment is voluntary. Students may choose to observe instead of participating. All eyes turned to Hana. The implication was clear. This was her chance to continue being a watcher instead of a fighter. Taemin's voice cut through the murmur. What's the point of observing a combat test? Either you're a warrior or you're not. Some species are not naturally suited for physical combat, Instructor Veltar explained diplomatically. They can still learn from watching others. But they can't call themselves warriors, Taemin pressed. Real warriors prove themselves through action, not observation. He was looking directly at Hana as he spoke. The challenge in his voice was unmistakable. Hana met his gaze calmly. Around them, the other students waited to see what she would do. I will participate, she said quietly. The dining hall fell silent. Even Commander Rixal looked surprised. Are you sure? Instructor Veltar asked. Combat assessment can be dangerous even with safety protocols. I'm sure, Hana said. Taemin smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Excellent. I look forward to seeing what a Deathworld warrior can do. As students filed out of the dining hall, Boram hurried to catch up with Hana. Are you really going to fight? Boram asked worriedly. Yes. But why? You don't have to prove anything to Taemin. Hana was quiet for a moment. Maybe it's not about proving anything to him. Then what is it about? Maybe it's time to stop just watching. That night, as Hana lay in her bed, she thought about her grandmother's final lesson. The old woman had been dying, and she had called Hana to her bedside. I have taught you to watch and listen, her grandmother had whispered. The week passed quickly. Every day brought more whispers and stares. Students who had barely noticed Hana before now watched her every move. Some seemed curious, others looked worried. A few appeared excited, like they were waiting for entertainment. Hana continued her normal routine. She attended classes, listened carefully, and spoke only when necessary. But she also did something new. Every evening after dinner, she went to the Academy's observation deck. The observation deck was a quiet place where students could look out at the stars. Few people went there, which was exactly why Hana liked it. She would sit in the same spot every night and watch the 3 moons of Velos Prime move across the sky. Preparing for your combat test? A voice asked behind her on the 3rd night. Hana turned to see Junho approaching. The young Drakmori moved quietly for someone so large. His blue scales caught the moonlight. In a way, Hana said. Junho sat down near her, but not too close. May I ask what kind of preparation involves staring at moons? The kind that helps you understand rhythm, Hana said. Rhythm? Everything has rhythm. The moons, the tides, the way people breathe when they're nervous or calm. If you understand rhythm, you can predict change. Junho looked up at the moons. I never thought about moons having rhythm. Watch, Hana said. She pointed to the largest moon. That one moves faster than the others. Every 12 minutes, it passes behind the middle moon. When it comes out the other side, the light pattern on the deck changes. They sat in silence for 12 minutes. Sure enough, the moon moved behind its neighbor, and the patterns of light and shadow around them shifted. Interesting, Junho said. But how does this help in combat? Combat has rhythm too. Every fighter has patterns in how they move, how they attack, how they defend. Most fighters focus on their own rhythm. They don't pay attention to their opponent's rhythm. And you do? I watch, I listen, I learn the pattern. Junho was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. You're not what people expected. What did they expect? I don't know. Something more obvious, I guess. Humans come from a death world, so people thought you would be fierce and aggressive, like wild animals. Are you disappointed that I'm not? Junho laughed, but it was a respectful laugh. No, but I think some people are confused. They don't know how to categorize you. Does everyone need to be categorized? At the academy, yes. There are warriors and non-warriors, predators and prey, strong and weak. It helps instructors know how to train us. What category am I in? Junho looked at her for a long moment. I'm not sure anymore. The next day brought the first individual combat assessments. Students gathered in the main arena to watch. The tests were not fights between students. Instead, each person faced a different challenge designed for their species and abilities. Strong students like the Corvani faced tests of raw power. Fast students like the Ethrans navigated speed courses. Strategic thinkers solved combat puzzles under pressure. Taemin's test was impressive. He fought against 3 training robots at once, using energy weapons and hand-to-hand combat. His movements were smooth and deadly. He finished his test in under 5 minutes with a perfect score. Now that, he said loudly as he left the arena, is how a real warrior performs. Daeho's test came next. As a human, he was given a survival scenario. He had to escape from a simulated crashed ship while dealing with multiple environmental hazards. He did well, showing the adaptability that humans were known for. Boram's test was different. As a Nexari researcher, she faced a strategic puzzle. She had to plan the defense of a city using limited resources. She took her time and found a clever solution that impressed the instructors. Cadet Hana, Commander Rixel announced. Please report to the arena. The crowd fell silent as Hana walked down to the arena floor. She had no idea what her test would be. The instructors had not explained how they chose challenges for individual students. Your test, Instructor Veltar said as Hana approached, is unique. We have studied your performance over the past weeks. You show unusual observation skills and strategic thinking, but we have not seen you in direct physical confrontation. What kind of test is it? Hana asked. You will face an opponent in single combat, Commander Rixal said. The opponent will be chosen randomly from volunteers among your fellow students. Hana nodded. This was what she had expected. However, the commander continued, there is a special condition for your test. You may choose the specific rules of engagement. This was unexpected. What does that mean? You may set the conditions under which the combat takes place, the arena, environment, the allowed weapons, the victory conditions. Whatever rules you choose will apply to both you and your opponent. Hana thought about this. It was an unusual offer. Most combat tests had standard rules. Why were they giving her a choice? I need to think about it, she said. Take your time, Instructor Veltar said. Hana walked to the center of the arena and stood quietly. Above her, hundreds of students waited, in the seats. She could feel their eyes on her. Some were curious, some were doubtful. A few were clearly hoping to see her fail. She closed her eyes and thought about her grandmother's teachings. about rhythm and pattern, about understanding your environment before making decisions. The arena was circular, about 50 meters across. The floor was smooth metal with a slightly rough texture for grip. The walls were transparent aluminum, strong enough to contain any combat but clear enough for spectators to see through. Standard arena. Standard rules would favor students who were bigger, stronger, or faster than her. Most students here had at least one of those advantages, but she was not looking for a standard. "Fight. I have decided," she said, opening her eyes. "Proceed," Commander Rixall said. "The combat will be held in this arena with standard safety protocols. No weapons except natural abilities. Victory condition is simple. The first person to lose consciousness or surrender loses." Murmurs went through the crowd. Those were very standard rules. Some students looked disappointed, as if they had expected something more creative. "And," Hana continued, "the combat must take place in complete darkness." The murmurs stopped. Silence fell over the arena. "Darkness?" Instructor Veltar repeated. "Complete darkness, no light sources, no technological aids, just natural senses." Commander Rixall's eyes narrowed. "That is an unusual choice. Are you certain?" "Yes." "Very well. Who volunteers to face Cadet Hana under these conditions?" Several hands went up immediately. Taemin's was the first. "I volunteer," he called. "Out." "Let's see how a Deathworlder fights when she can't run away." Other students shouted out their willingness to volunteer. The instructors conferred quietly for a moment. "The volunteer will be chosen randomly," Commander Rixall announced. He activated a holographic display that showed the names of all volunteers. The names spun rapidly, then slowed and stopped. "Cadet Junho," the commander read. Junho looked surprised. He had volunteered, but he clearly had not expected to be chosen. Slowly, he stood up and made his way down to the arena floor. "Are you sure about this?" he asked Hana quietly as they stood facing each other. "Are you?" Hana replied. Junho thought about this. "No, but I volunteered anyway." "Why?" "Because I'm curious. You've been watching all of us for weeks. Now I want to see what you've learned." Instructor Veltar activated the arena's systems. When the lights go out, combat begins. It ends when one combatant is unconscious, surrenders, or the safety systems detect serious injury. "Are both combatants ready?" "Ready," Junho said. "Ready," Hana said. "Beginning combat assessment. Lights out in 3, 2, 1. The arena plunged into absolute darkness. It was darker than night, darker than being underground. The walls and ceiling were sealed tight. No light could enter from outside. In the seats above, students strained to see anything at all. They could hear movement on the arena floor, but they could not see what was happening. At first, there were sounds of movement. Footsteps on metal. The soft scraping of scales against the floor. Then, gradually, the sounds became quieter. Minutes passed. The darkness seemed to swallow everything. Some students began to whisper among themselves. What was happening down there? Why was it taking so long? In normal combat, fights usually ended quickly. More minutes passed. The whispers grew louder. Then suddenly, there was a loud thud. The sound of something heavy hitting the arena floor. "Lights!" Commander Rixall ordered. The arena blazed with light. On the floor, Junho lay unconscious near the center of the arena. He was not injured, just deeply asleep. His breathing was slow and steady. Hana sat exactly where she had been standing when the lights went out. She had not moved a single step. Her eyes were closed, and her breathing was calm and quiet. The arena was completely silent. "Combat assessment complete," Instructor Veltar announced, but his voice sounded uncertain. "Victory to Cadet Hana." Hana opened her eyes and stood up slowly. She walked over to where Junho lay and knelt beside him. "He's fine," she said to the approaching medical team. "Just sleeping. He'll wake up in a few minutes." As if responding to her words, Junho's eyes fluttered open. He looked around in confusion. "What happened?" he asked. "You lost," Hana said, gently, helping him sit up. "But I don't remember fighting. I remember the lights going out, and then you went to sleep." Junho stared at her. How? But Hana was already walking away. The academy exploded with talk after Hana's victory. Everyone had a theory about what had happened in the darkness. Some thought she had used some kind of Earth technology. Others believed she had special Deathworld abilities that let her see, in complete darkness. A few students suggested she had cheated somehow, though no one could explain how. Hana said nothing about any of it. When students asked her directly what had happened, she gave the same answer. I won. But the victory changed how people looked at her. Before, she had been the quiet girl who watched everything. Now, she was the quiet girl who had defeated one of the Academy's best fighters without apparently moving. Instructors began paying more attention to her in classes. Fellow students gave her more space in hallways. Even the dining hall seemed quieter when she was there. It's like they're afraid of you, Boram observed one evening as they sat together at dinner. Are you afraid of me? Hana asked. Boram thought about it seriously. No, but I'm not sure why not. What you did to Junho, it wasn't normal. What is normal? Fighting, using strength or speed or weapons. What you did was... Boram searched for the right word. Something else. At a nearby table, Taemin was holding court with his usual group of followers. His voice was loud enough for half the dining hall to hear. Mark my words, he was saying. There's something she's not telling us. Humans don't have natural abilities that let them knock people unconscious without touching them. She's hiding something. But the instructors scanned the arena before and after, pointed out Sujin. There was no technology involved. Then she used some kind of Deathworld trick. Poison gas, maybe? Or sound waves. In complete darkness? Asked another student. How would she target him? Taemin's voice got louder. I don't know how she did it, but I know it wasn't real fighting. Real fighting is direct, honest. What she did was trickery. Hana listened to this discussion while eating her dinner. She did not look annoyed or upset. If anything, she seemed mildly interested, like she was studying a particularly complex puzzle. Doesn't it bother you? Kira asked. She had joined Hana and Boram at their table. The things he's saying? Should it? Hana replied. He's accusing you of cheating. Is he right? Kira looked confused. I don't know. Did you cheat? I followed the rules I set. Complete darkness. No weapons except natural abilities. Victory by unconsciousness or surrender. But what did you actually do? Hana finished chewing a bite of food before answering. I sat still. That's it? That's it? But Junho fell unconscious. Yes. How? Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she asked a question instead of answering one. Kira, you're a telepath. When you use your abilities, what do you actually do? I reach out with my mind. I listen. To thoughts. Sometimes I can share thoughts or emotions. And how do you reach out with your mind? I just do it. It's natural for my species. So you use a natural ability that other species don't have. Yes, but that's different. Telepathy is a known ability. What you did was also a natural ability. Boram leaned forward. Humans have natural abilities that can knock people unconscious? Some humans do. What kind of ability is it? Hana thought about how to explain. Have you ever been in a place so quiet that the silence itself seemed loud? Both students nodded. Or have you ever felt scared by something you couldn't see, but you knew was watching you? They nodded again. Those feelings happen because your mind is designed to notice certain things. Movement, sound, the feeling of being observed. Your brain uses these signals to keep you safe. I understand that, Boram said, but I still don't see how. What happens when those signals are wrong? When your brain expects to sense something, but the thing it's trying to sense is perfectly, completely still? Kira's eyes widened. It creates a paradox? Exactly. In darkness, Junho's brain was working hard to locate me. He knew I was there, but he couldn't see me, hear me, or feel any sign of my presence. His hunter instincts were telling him to track his opponent, but there was nothing to track. Because you weren't moving, Boram said slowly. Because I wasn't moving, breathing loudly, or giving off any signals that his brain could process. For a warrior species like the Drakmori, this creates a kind of mental overload. His brain couldn't handle the contradiction, Kira said with growing understanding. It shut down to protect itself. Like a computer rebooting when it encounters an error it can't solve, Hana confirmed. The three students sat in silence for a moment, thinking about this. That's terrifying, Boram whispered. Is it? Hana asked. You could do that to anyone, couldn't you? Just by sitting still? No. It only works under specific conditions. Complete darkness. An opponent who relies on hunting instincts. And they have to know I'm there but not be able to locate me. Still, Kira said, it's a powerful ability. All abilities are powerful if used correctly. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at Taemin's table. The Altarian student had stood up and was walking toward them. His followers came with him. I've been thinking about your little trick, Taemin said when he reached their table. Hana looked up at him calmly. Have you? Yes. And I've decided you're right about one thing. What you did wasn't fighting. It was something else entirely. What would you call it? Hunting. You used predator techniques against someone who wasn't expecting them. Several students nearby had stopped eating to listen. The dining hall was getting quieter. Is that bad? Hana asked. It's dishonest. You made Junho think he was in a fight, but you were never fighting. You were hunting him like an animal. And, Taemin's voice grew louder, warriors don't hunt other warriors. We fight them, directly, honorably. I see, Hana said. And you think this is important? I think it proves my point. Humans aren't warriors. You're predators. There's a difference. More students were listening, now. Even some at distant tables had turned to watch. Hana stood up slowly. She was much smaller than Taemin, but somehow her movement made him take a step back. You want to see the difference between a warrior and a predator? She asked quietly. What? Do you mean? Challenge me. The dining hall fell completely silent. Taemin blinked. What? Formal challenge. Single combat. If you win, I'll admit that what I did to Junho was wrong. If I win... She paused. What happens if I win? Taemin's pride would not let him back. Down in front of so many students. If you win, I'll acknowledge that your methods are legitimate. Deal. But, Taemin said quickly, no darkness tricks. Standard arena rules. Full lighting. May the best warrior win. Hana smiled. It was not a warm smile. No darkness, she agreed. No tricks, just you and me. Word of the challenge spread through the academy faster than wildfire. By the next morning, everyone knew that Hana and Taemin would face each other in single combat. Commander Rixall was not pleased. This is not a sanctioned academy exercise, he told both students in his office. This is a personal dispute, I could forbid it. But you won't, Taemin said confidently, because the academy is about learning, and this will teach everyone something important. What will it teach? The commander asked. The difference between real fighting and parlor tricks. Commander, Rixall turned to Hana. And what do you think it will teach? I think, Hana said carefully, that it will teach people not to make assumptions. The commander studied both students for a long moment. Very well, the challenge is approved. Tomorrow, evening, main arena, standard combat rules, full safety protocols. As they left the commander's office, Taemin looked confident and excited. Hana looked exactly the same as always, calm and watchful. That evening, Hana returned to the observation deck. She sat in her usual spot and watched the moons move across the sky. But tonight, she was not alone. Nervous? Junho asked as he approached. No, Hana said. Are you? Junho sat down nearby. A little. I keep thinking about what you did to me. I've never experienced anything like that before. It wasn't unpleasant, was it? No. Actually, it was the most peaceful sleep I've had since arriving at the academy. But it was unsettling, not being able to remember what happened. They watched the moons in comfortable silence for a while. Can I ask you something? Junho said finally. Yes. Tomorrow against Taemin, will you use the same technique? Hana turned to look at him. What technique? The stillness thing, the predator hunting method. There won't be any darkness tomorrow. So you can't do it? Hana smiled slightly. I didn't say that. Junho felt a small chill run down his spine. What exactly did your grandmother teach you on that mountain? Many things. Hana said quietly. But the most important lesson was this. Every creature has a weakness. Even the strongest, fastest, smartest predator has something that can defeat it. What's Taemin's weakness? Hana stood up and began walking back toward the academy. Tomorrow everyone will find out. As she walked away, Junho remained sitting under the moons. He was beginning to understand that tomorrow's fight would not be what anyone expected, including perhaps Taemin himself. The main arena was packed. Every student at the academy had come to watch. Even some instructors who were not on duty had arrived early to get good seats. The air buzzed with excitement and tension. In the preparation rooms beneath the arena, Hana sat quietly on a bench. She was not warming up or practicing moves like most fighters would. She was just sitting, breathing slowly, listening to the sounds above her. A knock came at her door. "Come in," she said. Dr. Yoon, the academy's medical officer, entered. He was a kind older human who had come to the academy 5 years earlier as part of the first human exchange program. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Fine." "No nervousness? No second thoughts?" "No." Dr. Yoon sat down across from her. "Hana, I've been reviewing what happened with Junho. What you did? It was remarkable, but also concerning." "Concerning how?" "The technique you used, if I understand it correctly, could be dangerous. Forcing someone's mind to shut down like that." Junho wasn't harmed this time, but if someone's brain couldn't reboot properly? Hana looked at him seriously. "Dr. Yoon, do you think I would use a technique that could permanently hurt someone?" The doctor studied her face. No, I don't think you would. But Taemin is different from Junho. Altarians have different brain structures, different instincts." "I know. Will you use the same technique?" Hana was quiet for a moment. "I will do what is necessary to win." That's what I'm afraid of. Across the arena, in the other preparation room, Taemin was going through an elaborate warm-up routine. His silver skin gleamed under the lights as he practiced combat forms that had been passed down through his family for generations. Sujin watched from the doorway, looking worried. "You don't have to do this," she said. "Everyone already knows you're a skilled fighter." "This isn't about proving I'm skilled," Taemin replied without stopping his routine. "This is about showing everyone that real fighting beats tricks and deception." "What if she doesn't use tricks? What if she really fights?" Taemin laughed. "She's half my size, and from a species that's new to galactic civilization. I've been training in combat since I could walk. If she tries to fight me directly, this will be over in seconds. And if she doesn't fight directly, then I'll adapt. Unlike Junho, I won't just stand there in the dark waiting for something to happen." But Sujin noticed that despite his confident words, Taemin's movements were more aggressive than usual. His practice strikes were harder. His breathing was slightly faster. He was nervous, even if he wouldn't admit it. In the arena, Commander Rixal took his position as the official referee. Instructor Veltar operated the safety systems. All around them, hundreds of students filled the seats. "This is a formal challenge match," the commander announced. "Standard rules apply. No weapons except natural abilities. Victory by knockout, surrender, or referee stoppage. Safety protocols are active." He gestured to the entrance tunnels. "Introducing the challengers. From Altair, Cadet Taemin." Taemin emerged from his tunnel to loud cheers from the crowd. He looked confident and powerful as he walked to the center of the arena. His silver skin reflected the bright lights overhead. From Terra, Cadet Hana. Hana's entrance was quieter. She walked calmly to the center, showing no emotion. When she reached the designated spot, she simply stood and waited. The contrast between the two fighters was striking. Taemin was tall, muscular, and clearly ready for action. Hana was small, still, and looked almost fragile under the arena lights. "Fighters. 2 positions," Commander Rixal called. Taemin took a classic combat stance, balanced and ready to move in any direction. His hands were raised, his muscles coiled for action. Hana did something unexpected. She sat down, cross-legged, in the center of the arena. Eyes closed, a murmur went through the crowd. This was not how fights usually began. "Cadet Hana," Commander Rixal said, "are you ready to begin?" "Yes," she said without opening her eyes. "Begin combat!" Taemin charged immediately. He had planned to start with a quick strike to test Hana's reflexes, but as he closed the distance, something strange happened. The closer he got to Hana, the slower he seemed to move. Not physically, his body was moving at normal speed, but his mind was processing everything more slowly. Hana sat perfectly still. She was not just motionless. She was utterly, completely still in a way that seemed impossible for a living being. Her breathing was so slow and quiet that it could not be heard. Her heartbeat was so controlled that it could not be detected. To Taemin's approaching senses, it was as if she had simply vanished while remaining visible. 5 meters from her, 4 meters, 3 meters. His warrior instincts, honed by generations of combat training, were screaming at him that something was wrong. His opponent was right there in front of him, but every sense he possessed was telling him that no one was there. 2 meters. Taemin's mind could not process the contradiction. He could see Hana clearly, but she had achieved a state of stillness, so perfect that she had become invisible to his predator senses. 1 meter. His brain, unable to reconcile what his eyes saw with what his instincts felt, began to shut down non-essential functions, like a computer encountering an unsolvable error. Taemin collapsed. He did not fall unconscious like Junho had. Instead, he simply stopped moving and stood swaying slightly, his eyes unfocused, his mind trapped in a loop of confusion. The arena was dead silent. Hana opened her eyes and looked up at Taemin. He was standing right over her, but he was not seeing her. His gaze was distant and confused. "Taemin," she said softly. He blinked and looked down. What happened?" "You lost. But we were fighting. I was charging. Then you got close enough for your brain to realize that I wasn't really there. But you are there. I can see you." Hana stood up slowly. "Are you sure?" Taemin stared at her. Even now, even talking to her, part of his mind insisted that he was looking at empty space. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Is it? On Earth, we have creatures called praying mantises. They can remain so still that prey animals will walk right into their arms. The prey can see the mantis clearly, but their motion detection instincts don't register it as a threat." "But you're not a mantis. You're... "I'm a human from a death world," Hana said quietly. "On my world, the ability to become perfectly still could mean the difference between life and death. Not just still like hiding behind a rock, still like becoming part of the environment itself." Commander Rixall approached them. "Combat is ended. Victory to Cadet Hana." The crowd exploded. Some students cheered. Others argued loudly about what they had just seen. A few sat in stunned silence. Taemin looked around the arena in confusion. "But I didn't fight. I didn't even try to fight." "No," Hana agreed. "You didn't. Why not?" "Because your brain wouldn't let you. When a predator can't properly identify its prey, it becomes confused. The stronger the predator instincts, the stronger the confusion." "That's..." Taemin struggled to find words. "That's not fighting." "No," Hana said. "It's not." "Then what is it?" "Survival." Over the following days, the Academy buzzed with discussion about Hana's technique. Students and instructors debated whether what she did could be considered a legitimate fighting method. Some argued that true combat required direct physical confrontation. Others claimed that any technique that achieved victory without harming the opponent was superior to traditional fighting. Commander Rixall called a special assembly to address the controversy. "We have witnessed something unprecedented," he told the gathered students. "A technique that defeats opponents through psychological rather than physical means. This raises important questions about the nature of combat itself." He gestured to Hana, who sat quietly in the front row. "Cadet Hana has demonstrated that strength and speed are not the only paths to victory. Sometimes the most effective action is no action at all." "But is it honorable?" called out a student from the back. "That depends," the commander replied, "on how you define honor. Is it more honorable to defeat an enemy through violence or to neutralize them without causing harm?" The debate continued for hours. Students from warrior cultures argued for traditional combat. Students from peaceful species supported Hana's methods. Finally, Junho stood up. "I have a question," he said. "Hana, Could you teach others to do what you do? All eyes turned to Hana. She thought carefully before answering. Some people could learn it, but it requires more than just sitting still. You have to understand the rhythm of life itself. You have to become so aware of your own existence that you can choose to step outside of it temporarily. That sounds like meditation, observed Boram. It is meditation, but it's also something more. On Earth, we call it becoming the space between heartbeats. Could you teach us? Kira asked. Hana looked around the assembly. Students from dozens of different worlds were watching her with curiosity and respect. I could try, she said finally. And so began something new at the academy. Students who had come to learn traditional combat found themselves sitting in circles, learning to breathe so quietly that they barely seemed alive, learning to be so still that they became invisible to the very senses that should have detected them. Not all students could master the technique. Species with strong predator instincts found it especially difficult, but those who did learn it discovered something valuable. They learned that sometimes the greatest strength came